Hi, I'm Danielle, and welcome to your Wednesday morning 7 a.m. gentle class. We are going to start in a comfortable seated position. So, whatever that looks like for you, if it's cross-legged or simply having your legs out in front of you, you can also have a block or a blanket or a towel up under your hips if that feels better for you. And once you find your comfortable seat, just take a minute to settle in and to bring your focus inward to your practice, to your mat. Excuse me. We'll start taking gentle movement at the top of the head and work our way down. So we'll start with a few shoulder rolls, just gently lifting the shoulders and setting them back. And you can roll them forward as well. You can roll one at a time. And then shrug both shoulders up to your ears, nice and tight, and release. And one more time, take a big breath in as you shrug your shoulders up. And exhale, relax everything. Shake it out a little if you need to. And then we'll take a little neck stretch. So reach your fingertips out to your sides and down towards the mat. It's okay if they don't touch the mat, but reach them down and drop your right ear to your right shoulder. At the same time that you're reaching the ear to the shoulder, drop the shoulders down away from the ears. If you want to, you can place your right hand on your left ear to gently guide your head down, but don't pull or put a lot of weight on it. You can just use gentle guidance only if that feels good for you. And release your head back to center. Roll the shoulders if you need. Before you drop the other ear to the other shoulder, reach down through your fingertips again. And you've got the option to use that hand for some gentle guidance. And let your head float back to center again. And this time we'll move into the side bodies by taking a little side stretch. Inhale your arms up overhead, and then we're going to reach our right hand down to the mat. Left hand comes up overhead. And this does not have to be a big move. Just go until the point where you feel sensation in your side bodies. If this side is feeling really crunchy and you don't have room to breathe, lift up a little bit, lengthen through both sides so that you're making space for your lungs to expand as you breathe. And come back up to center, over to the other side. Again, finding that sweet spot where you're lengthening both sides of your rib cage. And back up to center once again. Release both arms down to your sides. And we're going to do some seated cat-cows. So instead of getting into tabletop on our hands and knees, we're going to stay right here. Tee out your arms to the sides and flex your hands so that your fingertips are pointing backwards. And from here, as you inhale, lift your heart to the ceiling. You can lift your gaze just a touch and draw your shoulder blades back and together, like you're pinching them together. And exhale, round your spine. Bring your hands together and release your head and neck. Interlace your fingers, flip them inside out, and lift them up to the ceiling. On a big breath in, and then as you exhale, tee out your arms once again. You can move through with your own breath, inhaling to cow, lifting your chest, lifting your gaze, exhaling, rounding your spine. Interlace the fingers, inhale, hands to the ceiling, and exhale, tee them out one more time. And I'll do this from the side so you can see a little bit better. So I have my arms teed out. Inhale, lift the heart, lift the gaze. Exhale, round. Interlace the fingers. Inhale up. And exhale down. And this time you can bring your hands all the way down by your sides. Shake them out if you need to. And then we'll take a little baby twist while we're seated here. So for this twist, we're going to place our right hand directly behind our spine. And you're not really putting a lot of weight into it, but this is going to give you some added stability and help you sit up nice and tall. And then bring your left hand to your right knee. And this might be what your twist looks like right now, and that's totally okay. Let your breath guide your twist so that you're not twisting with the muscles and wrenching the spine. You want to gently remind the spine of all the different directions that it can move. And you want to foster that mobility. So as you inhale, sit up tall. Every exhale might gently drop you into the twist a little bit more. Take one more breath here and slowly start to unwind back to center. And then we'll twist to the other side. This time your left hand comes behind you. Sit up tall and bring your right hand to your left knee. Inhale to lengthen your spine and exhale into the twist. Come back to center. And we'll make our way into child's pose. There's a couple ways you can get there, and if you have a tried and true one, do that. The first one, if you do have prop to your hands and knees, and from there come into child's pose. If that does not feel good on your knees, you can always roll onto one hip, swing your legs behind you, press weight into your hands, and come up from there. For child's pose, spread your knees wide to the edge of the mat. Your big toes come into touch. Send your hips back to your heels and then reach your hands forward. If you'd like to rest your forehead down on the mat, you can. You can also rest your forehead on any kind of prop. And that can sometimes be really nice to take the work out of holding your head and neck up. And even though we've already started bringing attention to the breath with our movement, child's pose is a good place to check in with your breath and explore the quality, explore where your breath is going, if there's muscle tension that is inhibiting your breath in any way, constricting it, and where that tension is. And if you do find those areas of tension, you might choose to make that a focus for your practice, or to imagine breathing into those spaces to bring some release. And take 2 more breaths in child's pose. And staying low in your child's pose without lifting up too much. We're going to begin to walk our hands over to one side. Doesn't matter which side, pick a side. But we're taking another version of a side stretch, getting a little bit more into the hips. And then walk your hands back to center and over to the other side. Not staying here super long and then coming back to the middle. One last breath in child's pose before you walk your hands back towards your knees. And we're going to come up into tabletop. So up on your hands and knees, your shoulders are stacked right over your wrists and your hips are stacked right over your knees with a neutral spine. But you can go ahead and take some organic movement here if it feels good to hinge back and forth or snake side to side. And then as you come into this hinging motion, shifting your weight forward over the wrists and then back over the knees. Spread your fingers really wide and press each individual finger into the mat. We're going to get into the wrists a little bit. If you do a lot of computer work, this can feel really good, maybe, but feel good afterwards. But be very, very gentle on your wrists. So be aware of your threshold. You don't want to move to the point of pain. If this does feel really good, really juicy, and you would like a different level of intensity, you can turn your fingertips outwards, away from each other, and hinge side to side very gently. And when you've had enough of that, you can counter this pose by flipping a hand to the back hand up to you, and then you can, and then to neutral. Just countering that extreme wrist flexion. And if you don't already have your toes tucked, you can tuck your toes This time, when you shift your weight back, take the weight out of your hands, shake them out. Maybe bring some movement back into all your fingers. You can take a little toe stretch while you're here if that feels good for you. For toe stretch, you just have your toes tucked and you're sitting on your heels. This is one that I find people either really love or really hate. So if you really hate it, don't feel bad, just skip it. If you really love it, you can stay here for a little while. And then we're going to move back into tabletop position. Our next pose will be thread the needle. So for thread the needle, you want to shift your weight into your left hand, reach your right hand up high, take a nice big breath in, and then when you exhale, slide that right hand under your left armpit. And you might bring your right shoulder all the way down to the mat. And then you can slide your left hand forward like you do in child's pose. Or you might find that you want to prop that shoulder up using anything you've got handy. Blankets, pillows work great. Once you find that pose that you want to be in, you can bring your cheek down to the mat as well. Bring your left hand back under your shoulder, press yourself up, reach your right hand high, set it down, and then we'll switch sides. So this time the weight comes into your right hand, lift your left arm up, exhale, slide it underneath, bringing that shoulder down towards the ground or any props that you're using. An option to stay here or option to slide that right hand forward. And bring that right hand under your shoulder. Press yourself up. Reach your left hand high before setting it down. And then wiggle out or shake out anything that you need to shake out. I want to get at least one inversion in here. So we're moving into downward facing dog. Don't worry, we're not doing a lot of these today. But from your tabletop, sometimes if you need a little bit wider stance, it helps to move your hands one handprint forward on the mat. Tuck your toes, lift your knees, lift your hips, and then pedal out your down dog. So straighten one leg and then the other. Starting to wake up the hamstrings, wake up the legs. And then bend your knees as much as you need to. And it's okay for you to have your heels off the mat as well. They might be reaching towards the mat, but they don't have to touch. And then lift your hips as much as you can as you melt your heart towards your thighs. Take a big breath here, let it out. Take another breath, big sigh, and then look forward towards the spot between your hands and tiptoe your feet all the way forward till you come into a forward fold. And you can have your big toes touching, or you can have your feet hip width apart, but let your whole top half of your body hang loose. You can also keep your knees bent a lot here. And you can sway side to side or rest your pinkies in your elbows. And make sure you're not holding a lot of tension in your neck to hold your head up. So let your head drop. Maybe shake your head yes, shake your head no, shake your head yes again, just to make sure it's completely loose. And then roll up slowly. Take at least 10 seconds to do this. We're going to come up to standing, but let your arms and your neck and your head stay loose until they actually come up. You might engage your core just a little bit to support your spine as you stack each vertebra on top of the last. And finally, your head lifts up, and shine your palms forward so that your shoulders drop down and back away from the ears. And root down through your feet. Find that sweet spot where your weight isn't back in your heels, it's not forward in the balls of your feet, but it's right in between. And you feel strong and stable. And inhale your arms up overhead. We're going to take a little mini back bend. Back up to extended mountain and bring your hands to heart center. We're not going to do a lot of standing pose today, but we are going to do a warrior one. So most people are pretty familiar with warrior two. Warrior one is similar. We're just going to come straight from standing. So bring your left foot forward and your right foot back. Your right foot can be at a 45-degree angle. So kind of pointing the same direction as the right top corner of your mat. And then bend your front knee. Square your hips to the front of the mat like you would in crescent. So if that right hip is pulling back, pull it back to facing forward. And then from here, you can bring your arms up. And we'll do eagle arms. So bring your right arm under and your left arm over as you cross them. From here, you can just set your hands down on your shoulders if you want to. Give yourself a hug. Or you can start to bring your palms towards each other. If you are bringing your palms towards each other, then lift your elbows and press your hands away from your face so that you don't want to be like this. You're going to lift the elbows, press the hands away. And then funge again because it likes to disappear. And sink into your warrior one. As you continue to lift your elbows, and you can do this giving yourself a hug too. You can lift the elbows. As you continue to lift and press the hands away from your face, you can move into a bit of a back bend if you want, if that feels good. Or you can bring your focus to the space between the shoulder blades. Take one more breath here. Inhale and exhale. Release your eagle arms. Step your feet together and shake it out really good. And we'll do the other side just to make sure that we're balanced. So your right foot comes forward, left foot back at a 45-degree angle. Bend your front knee, square your hips to the front of the mat. Inhale your arms up. And this time for eagle arms, your left arm comes under, right arm comes over. Give yourself a hug or start to bring your palms towards each other. Lift your elbows, the hand away from the face, sink down into your hips a little bit. One more breath. Inhale. Exhale, release the arms. Step the feet back together. And shake everything out. And we're going to go ahead and take it back down to the ground. And you want to land with your feet out in front of you. And with both feet straight out in front, we're just going to continue to warm up the legs a little bit by pointing the toes and then flexing the feet so that your toes are pointing. And slowly moving and point and flex. And your knees don't have to be exactly straight. In fact, if you want to put a pillow or a rolled up towel or something underneath your knees, you're more than welcome to. Same with putting something under your hips if you know that that feels good for you. Then we're going to move into a one-legged forward fold. So you can keep your left leg out straight, bring your right foot into the inside of your left thigh, and let your knee drop out to the side. You can always prop it up with whatever you've got handy, or you can let it fall where it may. Your choice. And if your hamstrings are really tight, this might be your best stop. Some days this is where I'm at. If you would like to change the intensity of this pose, you can reach your hands up overhead, lead with your heart, hinge at your hips, and when you can't fold forward with a flat back anymore, release your hands down to the ground or your leg. You can also use a strap for this, but it just depends on your comfort level and how tight your legs are right now. So find your sweet spot. And we're going to take a little bit of time here. So the pose may change for you as we hold it, and that is okay. Don't feel like this is where you stopped and this is where you have to freeze in place. You know, the pose is always evolving. So listen to your body If it says, oh, that was really good, but we're done and we need to come back up, listen to that. If your body says, oh, I didn't know I could relax that much and I'm ready to go farther, maybe explore that if you're ready. So don't be afraid to change with this pose. Take a few more breaths here. And then use your fingertips, walking them back towards your torso to lift yourself back up. You can shake out the legs a little bit if you need to, but we're going to keep that left leg straight and cross the right leg over. So you're setting your right foot down on the outside of your straight leg, and then give your knee a hug. Now, this is bus stop number 1, so option to stay here. Bus stop number 2, if you would like, you can fold your straight leg in, bringing the heel in towards you, still sitting up nice and tall. And bus stop number 3 would be to introduce a little bit of a twist. So that would be bringing your gaze over your right shoulder as you continue to hug your knee into your chest. And it might be a combination too. You can always keep that left leg straight and go for the twist as well. And if you took the twist, come back to center, slowly unwind, straighten out the left leg if it's not already straight. You can release the right leg down to the ground and shake them out a little bit, maybe a windshield wiper. the feet back and forth. And we'll set up for our forward fold on the other side. So this time your left foot comes to the inside of your right thigh. Again, you can decide how you want to. If you want to prop up your knee, and you can stay here if you want. If you want to choose to fold forward, start with your arms overhead, biceps by your ears. Lead with your heart as you reach forward and then collapse. And let this pose be fluid for you. Change with it as it changes. We'll take 3 more breaths here as you find the fullest expression of your pose here. And then very slowly walk your fingertips back, lifting up from your forward fold if you chose to fold. And you can shake your legs out a little if you want before you cross that left leg over, placing the left foot on the outside of the right leg and giving your knee a hug. Sit up tall. Option to stay here. Option to fold that straight leg in. If you'd like to take a little twist this time, we're looking over our left shoulder as you hug the knee into your chest and lengthen your spine. And again, let your breath guide the twist without pulling or wrenching. If you've taken the twist, slowly start to untwist. Release both legs out in front of you. Shake them out, windshield wiper. And making our way onto our backs, you can do this however you feel comfortable. I do the thigh grab and the roll back. Then you can also roll onto your side. Swing your legs out behind you. And then roll onto your back from there. So once you found your way onto your back, put your feet hip width apart, flat on the mat with your knees bent. And we're just gonna windshield wiper back and forth. If you would like to take a little supine twist here, you can tee out your arms or cactus arms and let your knees drop all the way to one side. This is a very relaxed supine twist, so your knees are not staying stacked. And then turn to center, the other side if you like. And bring your knees back up to center. And then draw your right knee followed by your left knee into your chest. Give your knees a good hug. Roll up into a tight little ball. Maybe take some little rock and rolls here. And then we're going to come into our final Shavasana resting pose. So you can stay in constructive rest pose here with your feet flat on the mat, hip width apart, and your knees knocked together. This is really good if you have some low back pain. It takes the extreme arch out of the low back when you're resting. If you'd like to take a traditional corpse pose, you can slide your feet out down to the mat and let your feet fall open. Hands can rest by your sides or on your belly. But really, you can take this rest pose wherever you want to, even on your side or your belly. So once you find your pose that you want to spend Shavasana in, I would encourage you to spend as long as you can in Shavasana. You know, some people want to skip it because they think, oh, the workout part of this is over, so I'm just going to turn off the video now. But this is your time to let your yoga practice sink in. And it's also important for us to take time to rest and to thank our bodies for the hard work that it does for us. And if you've set aside an hour for this class, you have 5 solid minutes for Shavasana after I shut up and stop talking. So I would encourage you to take that time. And you're welcome to close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, but you don't have to. You can just let your gaze soften and let your arms and legs start to feel heavy. Start to scan your body from the top of your head very crown of your head and move down, noticing if there are any areas of tension. If you come across them, you can breathe in fresh oxygenated air. Breathe it into those tight places. As you exhale, imagine that tension melting away and being absorbed by the earth. So, with every breath, you're nourishing your body and letting go of whatever it is that you don't need anymore. Soften your jaw, soften your throat. Feel the sensation of shoulders and your arms. And then move down into your hips and your legs. And finally, your feet. And continue to release tension as you come across it. Enjoy your time of rest. Thank you for doing yoga with me on a Wednesday morning. Namaste.